It is the Logic Zone, Blobner and Martez. Doing this for the first time in 2 weeks. Been away from each other that long. Again, the Logic Zone, presented by Jerry Ohm, the #1 Ram and Jeep dealer in Florida. Blobner, you want to give me yours first or what?
Yeah. I've been waiting to get back to this, actually. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but Len Martez, the first place we're going to start here in the Logic Zone is with the Buccaneers, and specifically, the league in general. We talk about moving from 16 games to an 18 game.
Don't bang the table.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shakes everything.
By the way, we are streaming live on Facebook on the 95.3 WDA page. And I'm sure we're going to get a comment or two about you banging the table.
Oh, I know.
Stop messing things up, dude.
Yeah, we already moved it. All right, so we're in the Logic Zone. I'm going to start out in the NFL here. We'll talk about the Buccaneers. They're looking to move from a 16-game to an 18-game regular season, Lenny. And
so not only are you going in the Logic Zone, you're going in the time capsule too?
Oh, yeah, the DeLorean. We're taking Doc to the Logic Zone, baby, back to the future. And we're going to ask this question. Tell me how moving from 16 games to 18 games is a bad thing.
Bad thing?
Yeah. Since you want to be on that train of it.
Wow. From a coaching standpoint, more coaches are going to have to work as far as trying to figure out when they're going to give players rest. Now, I heard two sides to this. One side is that you have to figure out when you're going to rest your quarterback and how you're going to adjust having a kicker and a long snapper available to you for only 16 games and having to play 18 games. And then someone hit us up on the text line and said, no, quarterbacks and specialists will be excluded. That, again, is something I did not read. Stories I've read say that you will have to adjust your whole position as far as players are concerned, special teams and also offense and defense. So, again, players will play 16 games. Everyone. No one will play more than 16. But with that said, is it a bad thing? Only way it's a bad thing if coaches lose jobs over it because they but they decide not to rest their players in the beginning of the season and rest them at the end of the season. That's going to cost coaches jobs, dude. And if you're not smart enough to do it, to adjust to the way things are, and I know you said it, adapt or die, but coaches are going to have to adjust to the fact that a player they may need at the end of the year may not be available to him because he's played enough games already.
So we can agree for the most part. The only people that are going to be impacted maybe in a negative way by the NFL moving from 16 to 18 games would be the coaching staff for the most part.
Yes.
It's going to be good for the players. They'll get more money. It's going to be good for the fans. They'll get more football. It's going to be good for the league because they'll get more eyes more of the time for more money. And obviously all that ties into the ownership.
Listen, if you're not adding physically, if you're not adding more hits to players, then I'm all for it. And you're not asking them to play all 18.
No, you're asking them to play the same.
You're asking them to
16 schedule.
Be available the same amount of games you're available to now.
The roster will be bigger as well, which means more guys will be on the roster, which means more players will get paid. So it's good for the collective, roster.
What also might be bad is, you asked what might be bad?
Yes.
What might be bad is the quality of quarterbacks. Think about it. Some of the backups.
So I think it just makes your backup more important.
You better find the right backup, a good one.
Right. That makes it more interesting. I like that aspect of it. That to me is.
But he has to be good, Zach. He has to be good.
Yeah, that's on the team to figure that out.
Blake Bortles is a backup somewhere this year.
Not a bad backup.
Okay.
He started. Look, he was the worst starter in the league for 5 years.
Blaine Gabbett's the backup here.
Not a bad backup. And that's on you as a coaching staff to coach your guy up too. I can live with that.
Okay.
I think it makes it more interesting. I do think it makes it more interesting.
Oh, it definitely makes it more interesting.
Isn't that what we're here for? We're here to be entertained, right? Like, I know we talk about sports and all that, but at the end of the day, it's here for entertainment purposes. It really is.
Absolutely, no doubt. And again, if it doesn't add to the physical requirements of players, I'm all for it. I'm for it. Now, Blobner Martez, the Logic Zone. That was yours. Mine is, Blobner, the Rays played 27 games in August. as of right now, 21 of those games, 21 straight, will be against teams under 500. 27 games in August. You might need to pull up the schedule.
I know. I feel like this is going to get into depth a little bit. So I'm pulling up the Rays schedule.
My statement to you is the Rays win 20 games in August. And if they win 20 games in August, they're going to make the playoffs.
Well,
so,
okay.
How do they win 20 games in August?
Scoring more runs than the other team.
20-7, the month of August.
Well, so we're not counting any of these games, obviously, right, in July.
I said August.
All right, well, I'm in July. I got to get to July. They start their July schedule with a series-ending game against Boston. It's in Beantown against the Red Sox. Okay, they go on okay, I'm in August. Let me start over here. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm trying to get it all together. That's a good question, actually, especially from the guy who said June was just going to be brutal, and it was.
13 and 16.
I know.
One differential, -2.
It wasn't pretty. Rays need to win 20 games in August. Okay, I'm going to kick the Red Sox game out. They have the Marlins at home. Should be an easy 2-game sweep. They go on the road to Toronto.
No, they're at home against Toronto.
But they're at home, so they keep the homestand going against Toronto. That should be at least 2 out of 3, right? And then they have to take a long road trip to Seattle, where even though the trip is long, they have a day off on Thursday. So the travel time doesn't actually hurt them that much there as it would if they had to go straight to Seattle, right? They essentially have 2 days off with that game 10:10 Eastern pitch, Friday night. And they have a 1:10 game here at the Trop. So it's a day game, a day off, and then a late game. So they essentially get 2 days off before traveling. That actually helps them. Then they go south to the Padres, San Diego, not a long trip. So even though they're taking a West Coast trip, Len, it's not like a lot of the West Coast trips we've seen them take where there's going to be jet lag. There's going to be this and that hurts them. They're going to be fresh. They are going to be fresh for that series. So I'll give them 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. What's that got me? The sweep 2, 4. So I'm at 6 games now. Then they go to the Padres. I don't know. That's where you start to get a little murky.
They're actually the one team that is hovering around 500 right now.
They should take 2 out of 3, but let's just say they at least get 1 of those. So you're at 7. Right? 7 wins.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the Tigers next, who are awful.
They're at home against the Tigers.
They have that. Whatever. Just let me get through the series here.
It matters if you're home or away.
So they get a day off between that and again travel time. So they don't go back-to-back travel play. They should be able to take 2 out of 3 there, right? And then the Mariners come to town. That's 2 out of 3. The Orioles, 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 against the Orioles.
And Baltimore, that's 16. Go ahead.
Okay. And then they get to go to Houston to play the Stros, and they get the Indians at home. Figure they'll split that Indians, so they get 1 out of that matchup. They play well against the Indians. The Stros are going to be tough. So we'll give them 1. That's bottom. So if they get 1 more of the Stros, 1 more of the Indians, what am I at?
18.
Okay. So let me go back. That's bottom of the barrel. The difference is going to be, can they sweep 2 of those bad teams in the 3 or 4 game sets? So whether it's the Blue Jays, the Mariners twice.
That's why I said it matters if it's at home or not, because of some of the games that you're mentioning.
The Tigers.
Some of the games that you're mentioning.
And another 4 game set against
like
the
the
Orioles.
one against Detroit, under 500 team.
So
against Seattle, under 500 team.
So to break it down here in the Logic Zone, it is Blobner and Martez. We're live and local here on WDAE in Tampa Bay. You can hear us, obviously, on the dial at any point, 95.3 FM, AM 620. You can stream us for free, too, on the iHeartRadio app. Very easy to do. Right now, we're also on Facebook Live. So if you're at work or you're on the laptop, on the handheld, you're looking at your phone, just click on over to Facebook. You can see us and see what we're doing here. We do the Logic Zone every Saturday at this time, though, 10:30. Basically, we toss questions at each other that we normally wouldn't dig into. We try to get a little smart with it. And when we're talking about Len's question at the moment, it's how can the Rays get 20 wins in August? I just went through what logically should happen in the Logic Zone, and we ended up at 18. The difference here is pretty simple. Can the Rays sweep a couple of the bad teams in August? That's the bottom line.
Austin.
Stone Cold says so.
Okay.
That otherwise they'll hit rock bottom.
Oh God.
What? What is someone say? So we'll have fun with it, and that's kind of just the nature of the beast. Bottom line too, when we go back to what we're talking about with the Rays, and this is where I get frustrated when it comes to this team and the fan base and the people surrounding it. They're the 6th best record in Major League right now. Like, they're a good team. They're one of the great teams right now in the league. Now, it might not look that way because they've sputtered a little bit in June, which was the toughest month on their schedule, right? That's fair. Also, they've had some big injuries to guys like Tyler Glass now. You know, we haven't seen Matt Duffy come back. Alvarado, who's been shaky the last month, is still technically their closer. He's on the IL now with an oblique strain for 6 to 8 weeks. So there's been issues, yeah. They're still the 6th best team in the league, record-wise. Power rankings-wise, most sites have them top 10, if not all sites. There's lots of love. And I think what happens is we here locally are stuck in such a prism. And a lot of sports towns get stuck in this world where we look at, okay, well, how do we do against the head-to-head rivals, right? In college sports are really heavy like this. Like, you can have an okay year, but if, for instance, you're the Florida Gators, you can have an okay year, you better beat Florida State at the end of it. Vice versa for the Noles, talking about beating the Gators. The USF Bulls, you can have an okay year, you better beat UCF at the end of the season. Vice versa, right? Michigan, Ohio State, we can go down the list. Well, here with the Rays, at least in the 2019 season, it's about the Yankees. It was about the Yankees and the Red Sox. Boston, I know, has kind of gotten their stuff together, but the Rays have owned Boston. That's no different. What is different is they haven't been able to do jack crap against the Yankees. Now, they split, and that was a step in the right direction, right, Lenny? That was a step in the right direction. The question is here, they have 2 series left. One's in September. It's going to be a minute. The next one, though, is after this Orioles series, which the Rays should be able to handle their business. 16 runs scored yesterday. They got the first win out of that series in Baltimore. Can the Rays step up to the big bad Yankees and beat them? And honestly, it matters in the pennant race. It matters in seeding. But even if they lose, the series, even if they split the series with New York, in New York, mind you, that doesn't mean the Rays are screwed. Doesn't mean the season's over. They're still planted right there as one of the best teams in baseball.
On pace to win 93 games. You ask the other teams that are not in the top 5 if they'd like to win 93 games. They'd like to win 93 games. They'd like to be playing games that matter.
They win more than that, though.
Okay.
It's not even just the fans. Even Kevin Cash is like, we need to win more than 93 games.
That's fine.
Everybody's saying this team needs to be better. But
the reason why Cash wants to win 93 or wants to win more than 93 is that he wants to make the playoffs. And I understand why Kevin Cash says that. But as far as a fan is concerned who says, give it all up because we can't beat the Yankees, that's crazy talk. Because, again, you want to play games that matter in the summertime. You want to play games that matter in September. And if you do that, you could potentially be playing games in October where you could be facing the big bad Yankees. And you know what? You just might be able to beat them. We talked about it earlier regarding this team's ERA, best in the major leagues. We talked about the top 2 guys in the rotation when it comes to Blake Snell and Charlie Morton. That's the best top 2 in the division. I don't care what anyone says. I would put up Blake and Charlie Morton against any other 2 that start in the American League East. Bottom line. And when you can do that, guess what you can do? You can line up your pitching to win series in the playoffs.
And just to piggyback off that, Len, very easy question. Hypothetically, let's say the Rays get in the playoffs, they win the play-in game, their first series in the divisional round is against the Yankees. Whether the Rays sweep the Yankees in the next 2 series they play them, or they get swept in the next 2 series they play them, when we get to October and the playoffs, none of that crap matters.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Once you're there, you're there.
It doesn't matter if you like pancakes.
Oh, God. Again with the pancakes. He doesn't say pancakes.
There is one part where he says pancakes.
Pie, not pancakes.
Regardless. It doesn't
You're
matter.
Quote the great Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
He wasn't Dwayne then. He wasn't Johnson. He was just a rock.
He
was always a rock. Nobody said the Dwayne or the Johnson part.
The Johnson.
Yeah, the Johnson.
Anyway, yes, the Logic Zone. Blobner Len Martez as we rear off and steer off and crash with this segment. We do it every Saturday. 10:30, Blobner Len Martez. Presented by Jerry Ohm, the #1 Ram and Jeep dealer. Speaking of baseball.
Do you think they win 20, by the way, since it was your question? Do they get 20 wins in August?
19.
This guy. So you think they sweep one of the bad teams and all the other stuff that I said happens?
They finished 19-8 in August. That'd be real good. Again, you line yourself up to win plus 93 games.
And there's definitely going to be 18 games in the NFL sooner rather than later. That 16-game regular season is going to expand. Just to put a nice little bow on the Logic Zone today.
Tell the coaches that. The Red Sox signed a pitcher yesterday, but around here we know this pitcher for throwing a different kind of ball. We'll explain next. Blobner Martez, rolling from now until noon on 95.3 WDA and AM 620.
It's going to make a Coach Kevin Cash comment there. All right, y'all know the